High Counselor Prax Nubble's 3 sets of appendages trembled as they scanned the report for the 4th time. Their crystalline display screen flickered with images that made their outer membrane ripple with distress. The grand chamber of the Galactic Council fell silent as the other delegates noticed their leader's unusual behavior. Most esteemed colleagues, Prax's voice resonated through the chamber's acoustic amplifiers. I have received deeply troubling information about our newest potential members, the humans. Ambassador Lumi Starweaver of the Centauri Collective leaned forward, her bioluminescent patches pulsing with interest. What could be so concerning about these primitive bipeds? They've barely mastered faster than light travel. These vessels. Prax projected the images onto the chamber's main viewing sphere. Gasps echoed across the room as massive gray structures appeared, floating in the void of space. According to our intelligence, the humans call them punishment vessels or correctional facilities. But they're enormous, exclaimed observer Nova Brightscale, her scales shifting from their usual peaceful blue to an alarmed orange. Those structures could house thousands. Precisely, Prax continued, their voice modulator crackling with emotion. And here's the most disturbing part, they're full. The humans regularly send large portions of their population to these orbital facilities. The chamber erupted in shocked murmurs. Ambassador Tech Swiftwind of the Proxima Rangers stood up, his anti-gravity stabilizers whirring. Surely there must be some mistake. Even the most barbaric civilizations we've encountered don't practice mass orbital banishment. The data is verified, Prax responded, pulling up more images. Our surveillance drones have confirmed regular transport ships delivering hundreds of humans to these facilities. But there's something even more perplexing. The High Counselor paused, their color-shifting membrane now a troubled shade of purple. They appear to have equipped these punishment vessels with recreational facilities. Senior observer Maya Sunflare, known throughout the galaxy for her expertise in emerging civilizations, activated her hover platform to get a better view. Her antenna twitched as she analyzed the images. Those can't be punishment vessels. Look at the exercise areas, the entertainment centers, the dining facilities. That's what makes this so concerning, Prax replied. Either the humans have a completely different concept of punishment than any known species, or what Ambassador Lumi demanded, her bioluminescence now pulsing rapidly with anxiety. Or they're so resilient that what we consider comfortable living conditions, they view as punishment, Prax finished grimly. The chamber fell into stunned silence. Observer Nova Brightscale's scales had shifted to a deep purple of deep thought. We need more information. This could dramatically affect our assessment of humanity's readiness to join the Galactic Council. Agreed, Prax announced, their membrane finally settling into a more composed shade of blue. I'm assembling a special investigation team. We need to understand exactly what's happening on these vessels, and more importantly, what it tells us about human psychology. Ambassador Tech Swiftwine's stabilizers hummed as he processed the implications. If humans consider these conditions punishing, what do they consider comfortable? What do their actual pleasure cruises look like? The question hung in the air, sending a collective shiver through the assembled delegates. High Counselor Prax Nubble made a decision. Observer Nova Brightscale, Ambassador Lumi Starweaver, you'll lead the investigation team. Senior Observer Maya Sunflare will provide consultation. We need answers before we proceed with any further integration of humanity into galactic society. As the meeting adjourned, none of the delegates noticed the small human representative quietly taking notes in the observers section, trying very hard to keep a straight face. Observer Nova Brightscale's official report to the Galactic Council began with what would become infamous words across 5 spiral arms of the galaxy. Humans are either the most psychologically incomprehensible species we've encountered, or they're secretly the most terrifying. The surveillance team's cloaked observation vessel hovered near one of Earth's larger orbital facilities, the SS Maximum Security Resort, as Nova had optimistically decided to translate it. Through their quantum imaging arrays, they watched another transport ship dock with the massive structure. Look at how they're greeting the new arrivals, Ambassador Lumi Starweaver exclaimed, her bioluminescent patches flashing in confusion. Those uniformed humans are putting ceremonial restraints on the newcomers. Some kind of welcome ritual. Nova adjusted the imaging resolution. Fascinating. And notice how they're all wearing matching attire. Perhaps it's like our unity robes during the Grand Conjunction. But why are some of them trying to avoid wearing them? Senior observer Maya Sunflare questioned, her antennae twitching as she made notes. Several of these humans seem quite resistant to participating in their own punishment ceremonies. The team watched as the new arrivals were escorted through various sections of the facility. Their confusion only grew with each observation. They have designated time periods for physical exercise, Nova noted, her scales shifting to a perplexed yellow. In my extensive studies of punishment across the galaxy, I've never seen a species that encourages their condemned to maintain peak physical condition. Lumi's bioluminescence pulsed rapidly. And look at their nutritional provisions. 3 measured meals daily, carefully balanced for optimal health. They even accommodate different dietary preferences. The recreational facilities are what truly concern me, Maya added, her antennae now tied in knots from concentration. Library access, educational programs, professional training, are they punishing them or preparing them for something? The team spent 3 Earth days observing the facility. Their report grew increasingly bewildered with each passing hour. The humans have created a complex social hierarchy within their punishment vessels, Nova dictated, while her scales cycled through confused colors. Some of the residents have formed close-knit social groups. They've even developed their own internal economy using preserved food items as currency. Perhaps most baffling. Lumi added to the record, her patches now glowing with scientific excitement, is their entertainment system. They have designated periods for watching visual entertainment, playing organized sports, and even creating art. We observed one human spending their punishment time teaching others to create visual representations using primitive color applications. Maya's antennae finally unknotted themselves as she reached a conclusion. The only logical explanation is that humans have evolved beyond our understanding of comfort and discomfort. What we consider pleasant living conditions, they must experience as harsh deprivation. The team's attempts at direct communication only deepened the mystery. When they finally established contact with the facility's chief administrator, whom they assumed was the resident happiness coordinator, the conversation left them more confused than ever. "Welcome to Jackson State Correctional Facility," the human had said, looking oddly concerned about their presence. "This is a restricted area. Do you have authorization to be here?" Nova's translation matrix struggled with the concept of restricted area in this context. Surely all areas where humans went for punishment were restricted. That was the point of punishment, wasn't it? "We are a cultural observation team," she explained, her scales optimistically bright. "We wish to understand your pleasure cruise protocols." The human's face had done something complicated that their Zenna psychology experts were still trying to decode. "This isn't a pleasure cruise. This is a prison." "Yes, exactly." Lumi's patches had pulsed with excitement. "A punishment vessel. We are most impressed with your species' resilience. To consider such luxurious accommodations a form of punishment truly remarkable." The human's expression had become even more difficult to interpret. "I think there's been a misunderstanding." "No misunderstanding," Maya had assured him, her antennae waving confidently. "We've observed your educational programs, exercise routines, and social bonding practices. A most innovative approach to psychological reformation." They were still trying to understand why the human had put his face into his hands and made wheezing sounds. The final line of their preliminary report read, "Further study is urgently needed. If these are punishment vessels, we shudder to imagine what humans consider actual pleasure cruises to be. Official Galactic Council Investigation Report. Subject Human Correctional Vessel Analysis. Lead Investigator Captain Zenna Bright. Status highly confusing. Executive Summary. After extensive observation of multiple human punishment vessels, I must report that our understanding of human psychology may need complete revision. The following findings have left our entire investigation team questioning everything we thought we knew about this species. Section 1: Behavioral Observations. B. The humans appear to have developed an elaborate system where individuals voluntarily commit acts that result in their assignment to these vessels. Our preliminary hypothesis that these were voluntary pleasure cruises seems increasingly probable, despite humans' insistence otherwise. Evidence supporting this theory. 1. The nutrition paradox. During our observation of the facility dubbed San Quentin, we witnessed what they call cafeteria time. The humans line up in an orderly fashion to receive their nutritional allocations, which they claim to dislike. However, our scans indicate these meals contain all essential nutrients and are often superior to what many humans consume in their regular habitats. Quote from Subject A, overheard during meal distribution: "Man, Taco Tuesday ain't half bad in here. Better than my ex-wife's cooking." This suggests a preference for punishment vessel cuisine over civilian alternatives. 2. Exercise facility utilization. The most peculiar aspect is the yard, where humans engage in various physical enhancement activities. Many subjects dedicate hours to lifting weighted objects and running in circles, emerging stronger than when they arrived. Our psychological analysis team remains baffled by this apparent desire for self-improvement during supposed punishment. Notable observation: several inmates, their term for pleasure cruise participants, have developed physical capabilities exceeding those of their guards. Yet they maintain the pretense of containment, suggesting a complex role-playing scenario. Section 2. Social dynamics. The social structure within these vessels defies conventional punishment protocols. Subjects form complex social networks, complete with hierarchies, alliances, and trade systems. We've documented the following phenomena. 1. The currency mystery. Humans have established an intricate economic system using items called cigarettes and ramen noodles as currency. When we questioned why a punishment system would allow such entrepreneurial activity, the facility administrator turned an unusual shade of pink and changed the subject. 2. Educational advancement. Perhaps most telling is the presence of educational programs. Our team observed humans earning advanced degrees while supposedly being punished. Subject B completed a bachelor's degree in psychology during his sentence, their term for vacation package duration. Quote from Subject B, "Might as well make something of myself while I'm in here. This obvious enthusiasm for personal development contradicts all known principles of punitive measures." Section 3. Entertainment and recreation. The provision of entertainment facilities has led to our most controversial finding: humans appear to be using these prisons as subsidized creative retreats. 1. The library phenomenon. Each facility maintains an extensive collection of knowledge tablets, books. When questioned about this, Officer Margaret Turner responded, "Reading helps with rehabilitation. Our team is still debating whether rehabilitation translates to enhanced pleasure in this context." 2. Recreational activities. We documented regular events including basketball tournaments, highly competitive physical contests, movie nights, shared visual entertainment experiences, board game competitions, strategic thinking exercises, music programs, artistic expression sessions. The enthusiasm displayed during these activities suggests they are highly valued rewards rather than punitive measures. Section 4. Security measures. The most puzzling aspect remains the elaborate security theater maintained at these facilities. Our analysis suggests many humans could easily escape if they desired, yet they choose to remain. Notable security observations. Guards appear to be there primarily to ensure the comfort and safety of the residents. Many security measures seem designed to keep unauthorized guests out rather than residents in. Regular head counts appear to be more of a social check-in than actual containment verification. Section 5. Volunteer phenomenon. Perhaps the most compelling evidence for our pleasure cruise theory comes from the voluntary nature of many admissions. We documented numerous cases where humans deliberately performed actions resulting in sentencing. Quote from Subject C. 3 hots and a cot, free medical care, and a chance to finish my degree. Better than my studio apartment. This statement was followed by what our xenolinguists identified as nervous laughter from the attending guard. Conclusions and recommendations. After thorough investigation, we can only conclude that either humans have developed the galaxy's most counterintuitive punishment system, or B, this is an elaborate social program disguised as punishment to avoid cultural stigma. Additional puzzling questions raised by our investigation. 1. Why do humans maintain the pretense of punishment when these are clearly personal development centers? 2. Why do some humans resist being sent to these facilities when they offer better living conditions than many civilian arrangements? 3. How do humans select which citizens receive these punishment privileges? Final note. During our exit interview, Warden James Sullivan appeared highly distressed by our conclusions. His insistence that we had completely misunderstood the entire concept of incarceration only strengthens our theory that humans are engaging in galaxy-level misdirection regarding these facilities. Respectfully submitted, Captain Zenna Bright, Lead Investigator, Galactic Council Special Assessment Team. ES. Request for clarification: why do humans label their pleasure cruise coordinates with numbers instead of names? Subject D referred to his as 25 to life. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council had never been so chaotic. Representatives from 17 different species gesticulated with various appendages, their universal translators struggling to keep up with the overlapping arguments. At the center of it all, Captain Zenna Bright's hologram flickered as she defended her report's conclusions. Order. Order in the Council. High Counselor Prax Nubble's voice boomed through the chamber. Their membrane had turned a desperate shade of orange. We must discuss these findings rationally. Ambassador Tech Swiftwine's stabilizers whirred anxiously as he hovered higher. Rational? How can we be rational when humans apparently consider comfort to be punishment? Do you realize what this means for our species evaluation protocols? Please. Lumi Starweaver's bioluminescent patches pulsed soothingly. Let's approach this methodically. We have several theories to consider. Senior Observer Maya Sunflare's antennae straightened as she activated her presentation matrix. A holographic list appeared in the chamber's center. Potential explanations for human behavior. 1. The endurance theory. 2. The social evolution hypothesis. 3. The resource distribution model. 4. The psychological warfare proposal. 5. The time management theory. The endurance theory seems most probable, Maya began, but Ambassador Quick's pulsar of the Betelgeuse contingent interrupted, their plasma form bubbling with agitation. Most probable? Nothing about humans is probable. They sleep horizontally, voluntarily consume neurotoxins for pleasure, and now we learn they consider free education and healthcare a punishment. That's exactly my point, Maya continued, her antennae twitching with academic excitement. The endurance theory suggests humans develop these psychological traits as a survival mechanism. Their home world is so hostile that they evolved to find comfort in confinement. The chamber erupted again. Representative Nexus Wave of the Aquarian Collective sprayed a fine mist of anxiety pheromones. Are you suggesting they might actually enjoy being contained? What happens if we ever need to contain them? That's where the social evolution hypothesis comes in. Nova Brightscale interjected, her scales now a scholarly shade of blue. We believe humans created these pleasure vessels, but labeled them as punishment to avoid overwhelming their population. Think about it, if everyone knew these were actually luxury accommodations, their entire society might voluntarily commit crimes. A horrified silence fell over the chamber. But that would mean Ambassador Tech Swiftwine's stabilizers gave a distressed whine. That would mean they're capable of manipulating their entire social structure through reverse psychology. Precisely why we should consider the psychological warfare proposal. Captain Zenna Bright's hologram flickered as she spoke. What if this is all an elaborate display, showing potential adversaries that humans consider comfortable containment a punishment? The panic in the chamber reached new heights. Counselor Prax Nubble's membrane rippled with diplomatic distress as they tried to maintain order. Let's not jump to conclusions about warfare. Lumi Starweaver attempted to calm the assembly, though her patches were pulsing with barely contained anxiety. The resource distribution model suggests this might be a clever solution to resource allocation. By making comfortable accommodations appear punitive, they ensure only a certain percentage of their population accesses these facilities at once. That's even more concerning. Quick's pulsar bubbled. It suggests they're capable of society-wide theatrical performances to manage their resources. How can we negotiate with a species that operates on so many levels of misdirection? The time management theory might offer some comfort, Maya Sunflare suggested, though her antennae had tied themselves into stress knots again. Perhaps humans simply needed a socially acceptable way to take extended breaks from their regular duties. By labeling it punishment, they avoid cultural stigma for taking leisure time. Not helping, several voices chorused. My Counselor Prax Nubble raised all three sets of appendages for silence. We need to focus on practical implications. If humans consider these conditions punitive, what do they consider actually pleasant? What are their real leisure vessels like? The chamber fell into terrified contemplation. Has anyone actually seen a human pleasure cruise? Nova Brightscale asked, her scales paling to a worried white. The silence was deafening. We need to know, Prax decided. For the safety of the galaxy, we must understand what humans consider genuinely enjoyable. Ambassador Tech Swiftwind, assemble a team. Find us a human leisure vessel. But for the love of all cosmic constants, be careful. If they enjoy confinement this much, their actual entertainment might be beyond our comprehension. As the council members filed out, still arguing in hushed tones, nobody noticed the human maintenance worker quietly replacing light bulbs in the chamber's corners, trying desperately not to laugh. Warden Robert Thompson of the Rocky Mountain Correctional Facility was having a very unusual Monday morning. His secretary had just buzzed him about visitors in the lobby, but nothing in his 20 years of corrections work had prepared him for what he found there. A group of clearly alien tourists, complete with hovering luggage pods and what appeared to be designer spacesuits, were arguing with his increasingly frustrated receptionist. I'm sorry, but as I've told you 3 times now, you cannot book a stay here. This is a maximum security prison, not a hotel. The receptionist, Linda Martinez, looked like she was developing a headache. Exactly, exclaimed the tallest alien, whose name tag identified them as Grand Tourist Blazing Nebula of the Orion Pleasure Seekers Club. Their translation device sparkled with enthusiasm. We wish to experience your most secure pleasure accommodations. Money is no concern. Warden Thompson stepped forward, clearing his throat. There seems to be some confusion. Ah, the happiness coordinator, another alien, this one covered in softly glowing spots, bounced excitedly. I am Sweet Luminescence, travel blogger for Galactic Getaways magazine. We've heard so much about your unique pleasure cruise experiences. The warden pinched the bridge of his nose. This is not a pleasure cruise. This is a prison. For criminals. Yes, a third alien, whose hover platform identified them as Lord Sparkle Joy of the Centauri elite, waved several appendages dismissively. We understand the cultural necessity of maintaining the punishment narrative. We'll play along. Look, we even brought our own orange relaxation garments. Lord Sparkle Joy proudly held up what was unmistakably a designer version of a prison jumpsuit, complete with rhinestones and what appeared to be anti-gravity threading. Should we commit our crimes now, or have you streamlined the booking process? Sweet Luminescence asked, already recording with some kind of floating camera drone. Our research indicates that theft is one of the more popular reservation methods, but we're open to suggestions. Nobody is committing any crimes. Warden Thompson felt his blood pressure rising. Security. 2 guards approached, looking equally bewildered by the situation. Oh, wonderful Blazing Nebula clapped several appendages together. The ceremonial restraint officers. We request the full welcome experience, please. Our travel agent said the handcuffs are included in the premium package. Linda Martinez had given up completely and was quietly banging her head against her desk. Look, the warden tried again. I don't know what you've heard, but this is a real prison. For actual criminals. Not a tourist destination. Exactly what a premium pleasure cruise disguised as a punishment vessel would say, Lord Sparkle Joy whispered loudly to their companions. The humans are absolutely committed to the experience. We'd like the full package. Sweet Luminescence's spots pulsed with excitement. Solitary relaxation chamber, guided exercise yard tours, authentic cafeteria dining experience. Oh, and we simply must try this basketball ritual we've heard so much about. The warden's radio crackled. Sir, we've got more of them at the staff entrance. They're trying to bribe the guards with something called cosmic crystals. And there's a group attempting to scale the east wall, another voice added. They're calling it the traditional human entry method. This is a 3-star security facility, in their leisure guide, Blazing Nebula explained helpfully, showing the warden a holographic brochure. Though we heard the one called Alcatraz used to be 5 stars before it closed. Such a shame we missed its peak season. The situation only got worse when a luxury space yacht materialized above the prison yard, its captain announcing they were there for the dinner and incarceration package they'd booked through Galactic Adventures Limited. By the time the diplomatic crisis response team arrived, 3 wealthy alien tourists had successfully smuggled themselves into cells requesting room service. Shortly after, a galactic travel blog had rated the prison's exercise yard charmingly austere. Perfect for the discerning punishment enthusiast, and someone had started a wait list for the authentic human correctional experience. The Department of Corrections emergency press release stating prisons are not hotels only seemed to convince more aliens that this was clearly the most exclusive resort experience in the sector. The humans are so dedicated to the illusion, one tourist was overheard saying. They even made their happiness coordinator look stressed and angry. Such attention to detail. The final straw came when an alien luxury lifestyle magazine published a feature titled Top 10 Human Punishment Resorts, where discomfort is just a state of mind, and tried to award the prison a Galactic Excellence in Hospitality Award. Warden Thompson's official report to the Department of Corrections ended with a simple request: either we hire hospitality staff or we install better anti-spacecraft defenses. The aliens keep leaving 6-star reviews on Galactic TripAdvisor. And the waiting list is now longer than our actual sentence terms. His letter of resignation the following week cited irreconcilable differences between corrections protocol and luxury space tourism as the primary reason for departure. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was interrupted by an unexpected guest. United Nations Ambassador Sarah Palmer walked calmly to the center of the chamber, carrying what appeared to be a tourist brochure. Before we continue, she said, holding up the glossy pamphlet, I believe we should discuss the luxury penal resort and spa you've built in the Andromeda sector. Counselor Prax Nubble's membrane turned a confused shade of green. What penal resort? That's our most exclusive pleasure facility. Exactly, Ambassador Palmer smiled. Just as you misunderstood our prisons, we've made some interesting observations about your vacation destinations. She activated a holographic display showing a typical alien luxury resort. Let's see: isolated location, strictly controlled entry and exit, structured daily routines, mandatory group activities. The chamber fell silent as understanding began to dawn. No, whispered Ambassador Tech Swiftwind, his stabilizers wobbling. You mean our pleasure cruises are, by human standards, nearly identical to minimum security prisons? Yes, Palmer tried to keep a straight face. The mandatory matching outfits were a particularly nice touch. Nova Brightscale's scales had turned a mortified pink. But our guests pay enormous sums to experience those conditions. And some humans commit crimes to experience similar conditions. Palmer nodded. Funny how perspective works, isn't it? The revelation rippled through the chamber like a shock wave. Lumi Starweaver's bioluminescent patches had dimmed to a horrified glow. The mandatory wake-up calls, the scheduled meal times, the supervised recreation periods. The identical living pods, Maya Sunflare's antennae curled in distress. We've been running luxury prisons. Captain Zenna Bright's hologram flickered as she frantically reviewed her investigation notes. But the spas, the entertainment programs, the educational seminars, all features found in modern correctional facilities, Palmer confirmed. Though I must say, your prison gift shops are much better stocked than ours. The chamber erupted into chaos. Representatives from the Galactic Tourism Board were hastily reviewing their marketing materials. The Pleasure Cruise Association was having an existential crisis. Someone from the Department of Recreational Planning had fainted, all 6 of their appendages going limp at once. Wait, Lord Sparkle Joy burst in, still wearing their rhinestone-studded prison jumpsuit. Are you saying I paid 50,000 cosmic credits to experience imprisonment? On the bright side, Palmer offered, You got a much better quality of imprisonment than actual criminals. Think of it as artisanal incarceration. The sound of several thousand alien minds being blown simultaneously was audible even through the chamber's soundproofing. But what about the mandatory group meditation sessions someone wailed from the back, the enforced relaxation periods, the therapeutic food options? You mean solitary confinement, lights out, and cafeteria meals? Palmer raised an eyebrow. Marketing is all about perspective. Counselor Prax Nubble's membrane had cycled through so many colors of distress they'd invented several new ones. This means all our luxury hospitality research was actually advanced studies in humane incarceration. Yes, Palmer nodded. Quite progressive of you, really. Your prisoners are treated better than most of our tourists. The human maintenance worker who had been quietly observing all these meetings finally lost his composure, sliding down a wall in helpless laughter. Perhaps Palmer suggested to the shell-shocked council, we could benefit from a cultural exchange program. Your hospitality experts could help improve our prison conditions, and our corrections officers could help make your resorts feel more like actual vacations. The council chamber, for the first time in recorded history, was completely speechless. Oh, and one more thing, Palmer added, unable to resist. Those mandatory loyalty programs you make your resort guests sign up for. On Earth, we call those parole conditions. The Galactic Tourism Board's next meeting was delayed indefinitely due to what was officially termed an acute philosophical crisis regarding the nature of leisure and confinement. Meanwhile, resort bookings plummeted as aliens throughout the galaxy realized they'd been paying premium rates for luxury imprisonment. Prison tourism, however, continued to rise, with wealthy aliens insisting that authentic human correctional facilities provided a more genuine vacation experience than their own obviously disguised penal systems. 6 months after the grand revelation, the Galactic Council ratified the Penal Tourism Accords, establishing clear guidelines for distinguishing between actual prisons and voluntary confinement experiences. Key changes included: all luxury resorts were required to prominently display whether they were actual vacations or voluntary imprisonment experiences. Prison tourism was officially regulated, with clear warnings that authentic incarceration experiences were not, in fact, luxury accommodations. The Department of Corrections and the Galactic Tourism Board merged into a single entity, citing increasingly indistinguishable operational procedures. Human prison wardens found themselves being consulted by alien resort managers on how to make their facilities feel less correctional, while alien hospitality experts helped redesign Earth's prisons to be less like vacation spots. The cultural exchange proved surprisingly successful, though not without its quirks. Several alien luxury resorts still maintained their prison-like features, marketing them as traditional accommodations for those seeking an authentic historical experience. Meanwhile, a few human prisons had to remind their guards that the complimentary spa treatments suggested by alien consultants were not, in fact, mandatory punishment procedures. The most popular tourist attraction in the galaxy became the Museum of Correctional Hospitality, featuring exhibits like prisons or resorts. A test of perspective and solitary confinement vs. executive meditation pods spot the difference. But perhaps the greatest irony came 1 year later, when the Galactic Prison Administration announced its new correctional initiative. In an effort to reduce recidivism rates, they had designed a revolutionary rehabilitation program that involved sending inmates to facilities featuring minimal supervision, freedom of movement, recreational activities, and comfortable accommodations. In other words, they had invented luxury resorts. As Ambassador Palmer noted in her final report to the United Nations, in their attempt to make prisons less like resorts and resorts less like prisons, both species have somehow managed to come full circle. The only real difference now is whether you pay to get in or get paid to stay out. The report concluded with a postscript that would become famous throughout human and alien space. Yes. The Galactic Tourism Board would like to remind all visitors that attempting to get arrested on Earth is not a valid budget accommodation strategy. Please book actual hotel rooms. PPS. The Department of Corrections would like to remind all aliens that negative TripAdvisor reviews are not valid grounds for early release.